Well, hello everyone. I am so excited to be here with Miss Corella Payne. Corella Payne is an author. She's the author of a wonderful book on the subject of I Meant Those Other People, a Snapshot Memoir of HIV Tester. This is a subject that we hasn't been talked about, and I'm so glad that you're bringing it back to the awareness and the consciousness of the people. So,
you want me to do this one first?
Yeah. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So my name's Corella. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer. I was in Ecuador for many years. I'm a community gardener. Some people go to church. I go to garden. I have a master's in public health from UCLA. I have a master's in education from Texas Tech. And this is my public health profession, and I'm going to explain a little bit why. I guess one of the things that I want to say, to make a long story real short, is this. We are 40 plus, almost 40 years into the epidemic. This has stopped being a conversation. So it's interesting that we talk about maybe sex and love and romance, but the people that should be having the conversations with their teenagers or between themselves aren't having it, because we think it's, let me show you, and there's a reason for the title, because we think it's TOP, and there's a reason why this conversation came up in the first place.
Wonderful.
So, long story short, what inspired me to write the book was this. One, I don't like books. I love books.
Me too.
One of the people that I've most admired in my life have always been Black women writers, and one of the things that Toni Morrison said in the midst many of the great things she said was, you should write about something that interests you. And this interests me because it is so ridiculously challenging and frustrating, even in 2019.
Yeah.
So if I have time before we go on break, here's what I want to explain how the book came about.
Okay.
So I'm working on the CDC grant, right?
Okay.
Centers for Disease and Control, right? So I'm working on this grant, working on the South Side, doesn't matter where. I'm working at a clinic, and the grant talks about if you are sitting in an STD clinic, and for those that don't know, it's the treatment of sexually transmitted diseases.
STDs.
If you're already sitting in the clinic, right, just take an HIV test. Just normalize it, right? So I'm doing my spiel. I have the Magic Johnson DVD, and I'm talking about HIV, and here's what happened in the first place before we go on break. Are we on break now?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to take a little break, and then we'll continue.
We'll come back to that point. Right, okay. right.
That's awesome.
Right.
Well, hello, audience. I am so excited to bring Miss Corella Payne. She is an author, a wonderful author of this book called I Meant Those Other People, a Snapshot Memoir of an HIV Tester. This is a subject that has been not talked about. So I am so excited to hear this coming back into the consciousness and the openness. So
I've done a lot of work in terms of health disparities around a lot of different communities. One of the reasons that I've spent a lot of time working in HIV is that, one, it's a huge public health issue. The fact that we are 40 plus years almost into the epidemic and are no longer talking about it does not mean it's gone anywhere.
Absolutely.
Just because people aren't wearing the red ribbons or going to AIDS walks or having a conversation doesn't mean that people aren't still contracting HIV.
True.
So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about real quick that inspired the book was this. I've always wanted to write a book. I don't like books. I love books. Toni Morrison, one of the people I've admired the most in my life, just because she's a writer. And well, anyway, she said, you should write a book about, if you're going to write a book, write about something that interests you. Well, this interests me because it's a public health issue, because it intersects with race and religion and gender, and it is still so incredibly frustrating and challenging, and it's thought-provoking and it's eye-opening. And one of the reasons that inspired me to write the book, other than Toni Morrison saying you should write about things that you really care about, is this. The reason for the book is this. The reason for the title of the book is this. I was in an STD clinic, and for those that don't know, STD, sexually transmitted diseases, right? We know what WIC is, W-I-C. We know what adult medicine is. We know what diabetes is. So I'm in a clinic. I was on a grant for the CDC. We were talking about STDs, and the grant said if you are already sitting in an STD clinic, have a health educator come and talk about HIV to normalize just getting a test.
Absolutely.
So I had, the Magic Johnson. Remember Magic Johnson? Had the
remember.
Magic Johnson
I remember the
DVD,
Magic
and,
Johnson
and I'm
issue.
talking about HIV and the HIV transmission, and no, you don't get it from sneezing on people, and just trying to correct people's
Yeah.
misinformation.
The fear
Right, and
that
I
was
remember,
associated
and
with
this is
it.
what I want people to get. I'm in an STD clinic. So if you are in an STD clinic, it's because you've got an untreated STD. You may have chlamydia or gonorrhea or syphilis or even HIV. So I'm doing my spiel, talking about HIV and STDs and how to be tested because you're already sitting in the clinic. And there must have been about 28 people in the clinic. And there was a young man sitting in the front. And he said, man, people that had that stuff, you ought to just keep them away from me. They should be tattooed on the side of their neck.
The fear that's associated
No, I have to
with
be
it.
honest, that was ignorance. And
Okay.
that was kind of reprehensible.
Okay.
And so because I was still on probation at my job, I couldn't say, I know you did not just say what I thought you said.
That's all right.
Right, so
That's
I just
true.
said to myself, does this young man remember what the Holocaust is, where people got tattooed like that? Does he remember what slavery was, where black people got tattooed like,
Yeah.
tattooed like cattle? Does he remember that? But I remember, I'm not here to give a history lesson. I'm here to talk about HIV and to get tested. So I just glossed over it. I even remember that I felt like I did a wussy thing, and I just said, people, shouldn't say things like that. That's not nice. I'm like, and he
Yeah.
just said, man, I don't care. Keep him away from me. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I let that go. And there's a chapter in my book that talks about, you know what? When you hear something that you know is reprehensible and hateful, and you're quiet, it says something about you.
Yeah.
So I let it go that time.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, I'm in the clinic. I got the Magic Johnson DVD. I'm talking about HIV and chlamydia and gonorrhea and syphilis, and there are like 28 people in there, right? And there's a woman sitting in the back with her child, and she looked at me and she said, you know what? I really don't mean to be rude. She said, but people that have that, they should be tattooed on the side of their neck. And everybody sitting in the clinic was like, yeah, that's right, that's right.
So what I'm hearing you share with us is that there's still a lot of fear and a lot of misunderstanding that our community and,
Yes.
and the health professional
Right.
and the community and the people in general
And the fact that
need
we
to
are
hear-
not talking
to
about
hear,
it
and
in
we're not- it's
2019,
silence.
though we're still having sex, does not make it any better. So I know I'm running out of time, but I stopped.
No, you're fine.
I
You're
stopped
fine.
at this point because my mother raised me to be many things. One of the things she did not raise me to be was to be a fool or to be quiet. So,
Okay.
so I didn't want to respond to what the young woman said. I
So
don't want
we're
to be
going
rude.
to,
Take another break.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we're going to kind of wrap it up in a bit.
Okay.
So in wrapping it up, I just want to say that,
Let me just wrap it up and tell y'all why the name of the title is.
okay,
And I'm gonna wrap it up with this.
Go ahead.
So I
Go
turn
right
my
ahead.
head. I'm not looking at the people because I don't
Okay.
want to be I don't want anybody to be offended.
Okay.
And I said, you all are sitting in not the WIC clinic. You're not sitting in adult medicine. You're sitting in the STD clinic. I said nobody here knows that they have chlamydia or gonorrhea or HIV. I said, so if we find out that you have it, can we tattoo you on the side of the neck? And they got really quiet, and I said, see, y'all, don't do that. There aren't any other people. They're
Yeah.
just people, so don't point fingers at other people. That's where the book came from. That's where the
Okay.
title of the book came from.
Awesome.
I hope y'all buy it. It's $15. Thank you.
oh, wow. So then I just want to say that, I just want to tell you that I'm so excited that you did this book.
Thank
It is
you.
a book that is necessary. And it's also, what I like about it is that it's an easy read. The print is really nice, a nice size. So it's an easy read, and you can get through this book really easily. So that's what I like, and I'm so
Can I
glad
just add
you
this
bring-
and listen
Sure
to
you
all?
can.
This isn't
Come
about
on.
this isn't about
Come on.
demographic profiles. This isn't about statistics. This isn't about numbers. If you want numbers, you can go to the CDC website. You can go to IDPH. You can go to Chicago Department of Public Health. This book is written not by a white guy, but by an African American person who doesn't have HIV. And I say that to say this. Guess what? If I had HIV, what would I look like?
Like you look
Okay,
right
because
now.
there aren't any other people.
Like you look.
We're not talking purple spots and horns and whatever.
There's
so
no
the book is
stereotyping.
written by us, for us, and I think people should buy it because, one, I wrote it, and it's still an important issue.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you so very
do
much.
okay? Right.
Thank you. Thank you. It's awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
I love you, Austin.